fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Are you staring at the wrong door? This is something that I am so guilty of. And I think I'm doing this podcast just as much for me, if not more, than you listening to this. And what I mean by that, staring at the wrong door, I'm talking about doors that you're asking God to open for you. These might be goals that you've set, and maybe you're confused, you're angry, you're frustrated. You can't figure out why that door is not opening after all the prayer and all the hard work. And all of just the dedication and focus on this door opening, it's still not opening for whatever reason. It's happened to all of us, right? And I know I am so guilty of this because I'm big into writing goals, and I'm big into achieving those goals, and I'm big into focusing on those goals and even writing them down sometimes every single day. And a couple times I've done this for upwards of a year, and still that door did not open. So what does it mean to stare at the wrong door? Well, let me just tell you a story about what happened at Salt Strong, and many of you might not even know this, but in the very beginning, in the earlier days, we were essentially in the apparel business, and those were our goals, our metrics, our KPIs. If you're in the whole business world, everything that we wrote down and all of our goals and our dreams, and basically what we were building was about being an apparel company. I mean, we blogged about it every week. We did videos on it. We spent a lot of time trying to get the best fabric and the best material and the best suppliers. And we got to a point where we got pretty big. Like, we did at one point $50,000, $60,000 a month of apparel. That's a lot of apparel going out the door. But we also realized we had hit a ceiling. If you've ever done apparel, any kind of physical products, you at some point hit a ceiling. And that's from everything from space to the manufacturers to getting supply, and inventory management is a massive thing when you have a bunch of different SKUs, to hiring the right people. And all of a sudden, when you start doing $55,000 a month, you got a lot of problems. Stuff starts breaking. You got people asking for returns. They got the wrong sizes. They're irritated. So now you have to hire customer service people, and you got to train them. And you have to systems and processes for all that. And so even though that 55,000 sounds like a lot, we honestly weren't keeping that much at the end of the day after paying for everything and having six figures of inventory sitting there of our own cash at any given time. We knew we couldn't sustain it. So we actually found a group. It was three gentlemen who all had tremendous experience both in manufacturing and marketing, and it was just like a dream come true. And we signed a deal with them to let them be the exclusive apparel makers, all going to be made in the USA for Salt Strong. And we were so pumped up. Like, this was something you would brag to your friends about. And these gentlemen were well known. At least one of them was, and had done a lot of really, really big things. And they're great guys. I still have a lot of respect for them. But one thing that we did was, because we believed in them so much and believed in the story and believed that this could be our way to get to the next level, we signed an agreement where it was a licensing agreement. We could not print any more apparel. So it was supposed to be a short amount of time. I mean, we probably had 45 days of inventory. And so the deal was that, we were going to sell the rest of our inventory and we get to keep that. And then by then, around that 30 to 45 days, they would be ready with all of theirs, and it would be pretty seamless. So we get to sell ours, get all of our cash back. And I mean, honestly, it would be awesome, because once you can liquidate all that inventory, you now have a lot of cash. And then going forward, they would start scaling all of our apparel for us. So we're pretty pumped. Working out great. We sell all of our stuff, so now we have cash, and we kept hitting different little hiccups with them, and from suppliers, and we just couldn't agree on on some of the apparel that they were doing and some of the designs. And so had a couple of hookups. And then it was just like issue after issue after issue. It was almost unexplainable. It was almost like someone was sabotaging. It was almost like God was sabotaging it. And we were getting so angry. And so 45 days pass, 60 days pass, 90 days pass, 120 days pass. I mean, we're talking about, we're now going into 4 months. 2 of those months, we've now sold nothing. Like, we went from having a lot of momentum to like it drying up. And maybe you feel that way right now with this virus. Maybe you've lost your job, you're furloughed, or you're not getting paid because you're hourly and you have to be there to show up. I get it. My wife's going through that right now, and it's not fun. So I completely get it. And I went through it with our business, and we had a couple employees at the time, and obviously Luke and I would like to get paid. And that stopped happening. I mean, we went from making some money to making zero, which is never fun. And so we lived through that, and it was brutal. And this whole time, I'm now getting frustrated with God. I'm now getting frustrated with all these goals that I've written down, and this whole dream of partnering with these guys. I'm getting frustrated with everyone, including myself. And, I'm writing down my goals every day, and every day it was just like something else would come up. And all of a sudden, we're going now on 6 months of having nothing. And still, they kept saying, we're right there, we're at the 1 yard line, we're going to have all this stuff ready. And we're getting samples, and I can't even explain the stuff that went wrong. It was just like chaotic, like stuff lost on a container ship. And, because it was crazy because that was like the hats. What we found is really, really tough to make hats in America. If you guys are ever thinking about apparel, I think because there's so many things and so much stitching goes into it, it's tough to do it. But it was just everything just kept breaking and going wrong, and suppliers backing out and couldn't support what we needed. It was chaotic. And so I'm staring now at this door, which our door in this case was apparel. That's all we think about. We were laser focused on this door. And I keep asking God every single day, God, why aren't you opening this door? We've proven we could do it. We were going in that direction. Like, why can't you open this door? And I remember the feeling of just, it was like hopelessness, when it's out of your control. Maybe like a lot of you are feeling right now with maybe your job or your career or just life in general with all this, just not having control. When you don't have control, you don't have much freedom, and none of us like to feel like we've lost our freedom to make choices or to decide or to move forward. And so I'm now staring at this door and not looking anywhere else. That, now at this point, and maybe you're there right now with something. Maybe you're there with, it could be anything from a relationship to your career to something that you're pursuing, where you're like, you know what, I've put all this time into. I mean, keep in mind, we've done this now for a couple of years. So we're 2 years or more into the business, probably 2.5 years. That's a lot of time to give up of your life, 2.5 years. We've put all this money, we've put all this investment, all this time. We're at the 1 yard line, and we had every reason to say we should keep sticking it out because we've come this far. And I'm not saying you should give up on your goals or dreams, but here's the big aha moment. I finally, after talking to my parents and just praying on this a million different ways, like maybe God wants you guys to look in a different direction. And I was like, wow. Maybe that's true. And it's interesting how when you're stuck in that rut, you don't think that way, right? Now when I say it, out loud, 3 years, 4 years, I guess 3.5 years later, it's very, very obvious that maybe I should take a step back. Maybe I should trust God. Maybe I should look in a different direction just to see if he's opening up some other door in this massive room around us. And after doing that for really just a couple of days, all of a sudden we realized there was another door opening. And we, ironically, during that time, because we couldn't sell apparel, we created a course called Redfish Mastery. And it was almost kind of just one of those things that we wanted to put out there. At the time, we weren't really into selling courses. We weren't really into selling these online courses like we do now. And so Luke and I went out and filmed it. It took us a couple weeks, and we just filmed literally everything Luke ever knew about redfish. We got a couple other pros that we interviewed and put in there, and basically just broke down around 15 years of redfish secrets all into one 3-hour course. and we put it out there. And lo and behold, that sucker took off. And I'm talking about like took off like in a short amount of time, was started replacing most, if not all, of that revenue that we were doing on apparel. I mean, I'm talking like we did. If you're listening this far, I'll tell you numbers. I mean, we've sold over $200,000 worth of that course alone, maybe even a whole lot more. I know that was the last time I even checked it. And so this course alone starts selling like crazy. And all of a sudden, like we're sitting there. I remember Luke and I one day, and we were in Tampa in our office at the time, and we're like, well, man, we felt like failures, honestly, because you don't ever want to get that far and not have something work out. But at the same time, we realized how naive we were to think that we were in control, how naive we were to think that, we shouldn't maybe just trust God on this, that he had a plan, and it wasn't going to be on our time, it was going to be on his time. And next thing you know, the deal with the apparel guys just completely unravels and falls apart, even though they were at the 1 yard line. It turned kind of ugly, not necessarily like in a bitter way. It just, the whole thing just unraveled. One of the partners was pretty irritated. We were obviously frustrated, but at the same point, we saw this other door that had been not just like cracked open, it was wide open. It just took us turning around to look at it. And then that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to our business. And during that time, I mean, we had just had a conversation like 2 weeks before this prayer, this aha moment of about taking a step back and just looking to see if there's some other doors opening. And we had told Nick, our web guy, who is incredibly loyal and really just like family to us, we told him that he needed to start looking for another job, and we were going to have to let him go. We had no income. We couldn't keep doing it. And so we were taking the steps at this point, well into 2 years into the business to start unraveling it, to start shutting it down. And then all this happened. I remember we called Nick after that Redfish course launch. We're like, man, like we're onto something here, dude. Just, you got to trust us. And he spent a lot of time praying. He's got just an amazing story. Maybe we'll get him on and share one day about a vision. I mean, it was crazy what happened and how God spoke to him about sticking on with the team. And he's still with us to today, and certainly one of our most valuable players. And I share all that with you to tell you that if you're going through something right now, and maybe it's a big goal, maybe it's a dream, maybe it's a dream job, maybe it's a dream spouse or whatever it might be, and it's just not working, don't give up. I hope no one listens to this and says, hey, I should just give up on my dreams. But I would urge you to maybe take a step back. If you've hit your head against that wall so many times and you're just to the point you're at complete frustration, I would say take a step back and tell God you trust him. Tell God that you have faith in him. And I write stuff like this down, and I urge you to do the same thing. I just say, God, I trust this will be on your time and not my time. And even just the mere fact of writing that down, something happens that's magical, and all of a sudden a door over here to the left or a door over here to the right magically opens up. And usually, from my experience, it opens up really wide where there is no denying which path you should go down. As I said, that was one of the best things that ever happened. And we never would have taken the time to do all the course and stuff had we not been put in that position. Isn't that funny how God works? He had a plan. He knew what SaltStrong was going to look like today, right here now. And now we have 25 of these courses. If you guys don't know our whole business model, I mean, we're essentially an e-learning platform, which is kind of a cool, trendy thing now that all these kids are doing virtual learning. And we've proven it could work. I mean, we started seeing crazy testimonials of people, catching their first redfish or putting their kids in their redfish, their first redfish artificial lure, their personal best. And now I don't know how many thousands and thousands of testimonials we have just from that course alone. And it changed our entire business. And what's funny is, it was what we were passionate about from day one. If you guys who were around from, back in really 2015, January 2015 was when SaltStrong kicked off. And really that first year, we called ourselves the apparel company that teaches you how to fish. The teaching was part of our fabric from day one. The teaching is all we really wanted to do. And we just sold apparel because that was the only way we knew that could help pay the bills and create a real business model. And what was so funny is God wanted us to get rid of the apparel. And now we don't, I mean, we have, apparel through AFCO. It's a licensing deal, but it's not even on the radar in terms of revenue. I mean, we're talking really, really small numbers because it's licensing and we make just a small amount of the total. And you obviously, anything that you want to grow, you put focus on it. And we want the info piece to grow. It's where we make our biggest impact. It's where all the testimonials come from. It's where we're uniting friends and families through fishing all through this e-learning. And then, of course, the next level is our club where we're showing people where to go fish every week, just trying to make fishing more enjoyable, more fun, more positive. We have just such an amazing community. There's no cursing in there. There's no negativity. Just a fun family, and that's what we call all of our members in the Insider Club is a family. And yet, none of this stuff would have happened. None of it had we stayed focused on that wrong door. Had we kept staring at that wrong door, getting mad and getting angry and getting frustrated and wondering, why isn't God listening to me? And the irony was, he wasn't just listening; he had the whole thing planned out. And now, looking back, I can laugh at it. At the time, I was not happy, and I was incredibly frustrated and stressed and full of anxiety. When you can't even pay your bills and you're just watching money go out the door, that's not fun. And so I would urge you, if you feel like you're in that kind of rut right now, or if you feel like you're just at a wall and it's not working, take a step back, look around, tell God you trust him, and wait for another door to open. If it doesn't, then maybe you're meant to go down that path. Maybe you're meant to just burst through that wall or just take a hammer and keep chiseling away at it. I don't know. Obviously, only God knows the answer to that long term. But I would urge you to take a step back and just trust and look around. You'll be shocked at what kind of doors God will open to you when you're willing to look and you're willing to trust him. And I learned a really, really valuable lesson that day. And I've had similar instances that have happened over and over again. And every time that I have to take a step back and kind of just take a deep breath and say, God, I trust you. I'm gonna believe and trust with 100% that this is on your time, not my time. Usually that's right around the time that the new door opens, and I'm led down a much more exciting path, and I can look back and say, doggone, I am so glad I'm here and not the area I was trying to go down in the first place. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the growth. And I hope if you've listened this far that you got something out of this, and maybe this message was for you to prepare you for something that's about to happen soon. Maybe you're in that rut right now. Maybe it's something a year from now, and you can remember this and say, you know what, I need to take a step back and stop banging my head and stop getting angry at God and wondering why my goals aren't happening. Sometimes, it's okay to redo a goal. I tried not to, but in that case, had we stuck with our guns, even after 2 years and saying we're only going to be an apparel company, we would have died. We would have been long gone. And because that we put a little bit of trust in there, and because we took a step back and started looking for other doors, it ended up being the very best decision we ever could have made. And now, here we are after 5 years impacting who knows how many people. It's mind-boggling how many new members are joining every day, how many people are buying and investing in these courses, how many people are engaging with our content. It is so cool, and we are so grateful. And so grateful for you, regardless if you're an Insider member or not. I urge you to join there. It's a great way to save a lot of money, a lot of time. We have, 20 to even 30 or 40% off every single rod, reel, all the best stuff that you can imagine. And more importantly, we show you what you need, right? I think one of the big problems in our industry is that, you get these massive big box stores and all they really want to do is just throw all this product on you, and 90% of it you don't need, right? And I know because I've been there. You should see my little tackle room, and we got multiple garages full of just tackle that we've bought that we didn't need. And one of our big missions is to show you exactly what you need, and then obviously to provide it for you at a great price. Better you can get it anywhere else out there. And I think if we can do that and save you money and then help put you on the fish, doggone, our mission is accomplished. So thank you guys so much for all the love, all the support. Hit me up if this was a perfect message for you in your life. Let me know. Joe@saltstrong.com, Joe@saltstrong.com. I would urge you to write down the goals, stare at that door, bang on that door, the one that you feel like you're called to go down, and at any point it feels like you have just hit a roadblock. Take a step back, look around. Maybe there's another door that God wants you to go down, and then trust that it's going to be on His time and not your time. I say that over and over again because I need to hear that. It's one of the biggest things I struggle with, of just getting frustrated that, hey, why hasn't this happened yet? So great time to take a breather. Thank God for everything He's blessed in your life. And once again, I'd love to hear from you. If this was a timely message, joe@saltstrong.com. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in